Hello, Dansus and Dansusettes. Are we really doing this again? Yes, we are. In the bottom right-hand corner of Primeval Isles, up against 7 computers, it is the yellow Zerg player. Hats. Make hats for long. Alright, and I know what you're thinking. What's the catch? This probably isn't real. Production tab isn't there. What's the story? But yeah, here we go. Production tab, it says Dado. That's me, yellow Zerg player. Alright, as usual on Isles, we are going to start off slow so that we can talk about what's going on and the setup, and then we are going to speed things up materially because it is quite a long replay. Alright, so let's talk about being Zerg on Primeval Isles. The problem with Zerg on island maps of any kind is that it takes them forever to get any kind of drop tech. Their air is kind of squishy. You can get Mutalisks quickly. So in a 1v1 on islands, it's not too bad to just go one base Muta and try to kill your opponent. But in a 1v7, if you try to kill one of them with Mutalisks, everybody else shows up at your base and murders you. So we are opening up here with a pretty standard 12 hatch. Let's see. So I messed around with a bunch of openings and I tried things like extractor trick, double extractor trick, 9 pool, over pool, and it turns out that sort of disappointingly, plain old 12 hatch is the way to go. And what are we going to be doing here? So some of the specific challenges for Zerg, as I mentioned, are it's hard to get off the island quickly. You know, I was able to get a shuttle out at like, I don't know, under 4 minutes with Protoss. With Terran, obviously, we could just lift command centers and send them out. With Zerg, you have to get to the lair. You have to research ventricle sacs, and then, even then, the overlords are so goddamn slow. We see overlords flying around in weird formations, kind of like computers, so maybe this is a trick again. I don't know. Anyway, so the evolution of this has been, initially, I was trying to, I'm going to up the speed a little bit, this is already too slow for me, but we are at the 2-minute and 40-second mark, just finished an extractor, spawning pool is about 1/3 done, and we have a hatchery coming in over here. Hatchery is placed over here to make it closer to these minerals, which are quite far from the original hatchery. So the distance he's got to go, but now he can just go straight up there. So a little bit of efficiency gained there. All right, layer starts as soon as the spawning pool finishes at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And as I was starting to say, when the very first attempts, or the very many attempts to do this, the goal was to get the creep to the edge of the island and then throw down spore colonies, sort of equidistant across, trying to cover the whole thing. And one of the reasons to do that is, in many cases, like if a shuttle shows up, or a dropship shows up, or even an overlord, if they get fired upon by a spore colony, they turn around and they drop their units on a nearby island. And so the idea was to get spores covering enough of this area that anyone who tried to come in would run into spore fire. And let's see, we got these sacs on the way as soon as possible. And then you wouldn't have to worry about them dropping your base and killing you. So what I eventually decided was that, you know, by doing that, all I'm doing is having them camp out a bunch of units on all the islands around me. If they turn around and drop on a nearby island. They also are not losing any units. They don't have to spend money to replace them. And so ultimately, I decided that I don't want to do that. I want them to land. I want them to land, and I want their shit to die, and I want them to have to pay to replace it. So here we go, building a lot of sunken colonies. And the nice thing about Zerg, while they are terrible at getting off of islands, they are very good with static defense. It's expensive, but it's very strong. And the computer is not good at killing it. So we go sunken colonies first, because generally the earliest something can show up, and it's, if we went back, we'd see, is a quick zealot drop. And that happens around 5 minutes, 20 seconds. So you want to have sunken colonies first, and mutalisks don't show up until after sort of late 6 minutes. And you can see that's when they started showing up this time. We didn't have the early zealot drop, but I would have been ready for it, so that's nice. I did lose one sunken colony, but that's it from the first few attacks. And I do have a drone on my back island here. Right, this is the safest expansion, and the reason I'm able to take it without any defense here is that I put these spore colonies. You can see a lot of drops coming in, and everything's just dying. Put these spore colonies along these edges, and similar to the situation where the drops turn around if they get hit by spores, if mutalisks fly by and take a shot from a spore colony, they'll attack that spore colony. If a shuttle is flying by trying to drop here and it takes a shot from one of these spore colonies, it will go to the closest island, so you want to hit it before it gets too close. And then it'll drop, so they'll drop off their units here, or they might just turn around. That makes it relatively easy to take this back expansion. The problem is, what do you do from there? And what's in our production tab at the moment? Alright, we are getting the speed upgrade for Overlords. It's just finished up. And we are dropping off 8 drones here, trying to increase the efficiency, get as many going over here as possible, spread everybody out. And putting up some colonies. It's going to be sunken colonies, spore colonies, because they do sometimes sneak by. This is not foolproof for sure, especially when they get more and more mutalisks and dropships and so on. But things keep coming in and dying. Mutalisks are surprisingly bad at killing, at least AI mutalisks are, bad at killing spore colonies. This, I kind of messed up a little bit. You have to have a bridge between everything, or there are these little spots where they sneak in. That's why I have a sunken colony here and a sunken colony here. Those were my first ones, because I knew that if I only had this triangle in the middle, things would just walk down here and start killing my extractor, eventually get in and start killing my drones. Happened to me many times. Alright, so we're mining in our second base. A bunch of drops coming in. And finally, a Hydralisk Den is coming in at 11 minutes and 40 seconds, as well as a second evolution chamber. +1 attack for the Hydras is just finished. We are also getting a Queen's Nest. Queen's Nest, very important because you're going to need it to get +3 armor and attack for those Hydras, and you're also going to need it for Nidus Canals. So, just like with Protoss and Terran, the key here is going to be taking the middle. And more and more drops coming in, more and more things dying, more and more drones being made. And it's extremely difficult to take the middle as Zerg, more so than with the other races, because you can't just plant static defense. You have to finish a hatchery first. And as we know, as soon as you start making a hatchery, in fact, even as soon as you drop a drone on an island, they know about it somehow, and they come for you. They send like everything to make sure that you don't expand. That's why this is really the only easy island to take. And so a lot of times, the other big problem is when you do drop anything in the middle, typically the Protoss drops a lot of High Templar, and everything just gets stormed. So you could have a maxed out army drop off there, and all these Templar will show up and just start killing all your shit. Alright, so we are up to Hive. You've seen a lot of drops happen here, and still, just one spore colony lost. We had that one sunken colony lost. Putting some lurkers around the outside. We saw dragons take out that spore colony because there was nothing on the outside to kill it. And meanwhile, we have this Overlord who is carrying 2 drones, has made his way to the middle. And here's something I figured out. This is extremely important. So while the computer will flock to your new island if you drop off a drone, or really any other units, if you burrow it immediately, they don't know about it. So they're not triggered to come attack. So I just come up here and I drop off these 2 drones, just sort of leaving them there for later, so they're ready when I want to try to take the middle. Meanwhile, we are making Mo Hydralisks, +2 attack and I believe +1 armor, just finishing up. Yep, there's +2. We've got the Hive, so we're going to start +3 as soon as possible. And the goal here is, again, to just take the middle. Trying to spend as little as possible on defense. Obviously, it was a very big investment in defense, with all of these colonies being very expensive. lurkers as well. But it's better than what I had been trying to do, which was put spores all the way around and then also having to have some sunken colony behind it, because if something did sneak through and drop and you didn't have them, everything would die. So here we go. We're making the move to the middle at the about 18-minute mark. I'm going to drop off what's inside these. These are Hydras. We got 6 Overlords full of Hydras, actually short 1 Hydralist. And the Valkyries show up. This is another problem. Okay. So I lose a bunch of Hydras here. Immediately morph a bunch of them into lurkers and burrow the other ones. Okay, so this is so that they do not just try to pounce on the middle. Since I'm here, and I'm going to... I mentioned those High Templar drops. So the reason I got all these lurkers here is I'm going to try to make a perimeter of lurkers so that when High Templar do show up, the lurkers will get them immediately. Otherwise, you know, they just drop 4 High Templar at a time and storm everything, and it's all dead. So, trying to make this ring of lurkers. More eggs coming in. I have not made the hatchery yet. These are just burrowed drones, and we're making more Hydras back home. If I had tried to make the hatcheries already at this point, they would have sent everything and everything would be dead. It happened to me many times. What else is going on here? We are 20 minutes into the game. We have mined out the main base, mining at the expansion, and it looks like loading up these Hydras. Yeah, so I just I put them in teams and burrowed them just to keep them organized. And we're putting them in these Overlords. Another reason that I brought these Hydralists over first, or a smaller group first, to set that perimeter, is Overlords are expensive and they're extremely squishy. So there are a lot of Valkyries flying around the map. You saw that when I dropped off in the middle. They took out a lot of Overlords. And something that has happened to me several times is take, 12 to 18 Overlords full of units toward the middle, and they just get intercepted by Valkyries on their way, and they die. Fortunately, that doesn't happen here. Still, it was very possible. One thing I learned you can do is just drop a couple of Hydralists off, and also split off the Overlords they're attacking. But the idea here is at 22 minutes, we are bringing the entire army. I've now made some Scourge back home and a few Hydralists, some Lurkers back to defend, but really it's just about holding the middle now. Sending these Overlords home because they will send their Valkyries and their Corsairs, and I will lose a lot of Overlords. So right now it's just hold your breath, hope that these hatcheries can finish before everybody shows up, and we are making 2 Nidus Canals, actually 3. We got one from the back here, so I'm going to want to bring those drones over. And as soon as these finish, Nidus Canals coming in, and we're going to make as many spore colonies as possible. Because even with all these Lurkers and Hydralisks, they can send so much air that you can't do anything about it. You might have also seen I have a Defiler Mound here, so that's going to be useful for Dark Swarm against the air. And right now, it's looking pretty good, but I got to this point very many times. They now are shifting their attention to the middle. They're also sending a lot to my main base, and I kind of lost track of this. I was so focused on the middle, trying to hold it, and I should have noticed that not enough stuff was showing up. By the time I noticed that there was disruption web over absolutely everything in my main base, it was too late. This base is going to die, and at this point I'm feeling like the game is probably over. This is just going to be another restart, 25 minutes in. I made it 25 minutes many times before. It does feel good to have the middle, but, losing the main, losing all my tech is not looking good. They just landed enough things. The disruption web is really just the killer here. Without it, 3/3 Hydras are able to hold off quite a bit. But you can see in the middle, I'm not giving up, putting spores down, as many as I can, but I'm down to just 60 minerals, right? So I have to start mining in the middle. Pretty much done mining here. As soon as these guys are done, so I'm already sending them through the Nidus Canal to the middle. Need to get mining. Very low on minerals, doing pretty well on gas. Been saving it up, and Scourge become very helpful at this point when they already have battle cruisers showing up in the middle. Battlecruisers love to Yamato my spore colonies. It's like their favorite thing. If you build one anywhere, they are just drawn to it. I'm evacuating my overlords from the bottom right because I assume it's going to die pretty soon. And okay, we've got these battlecruisers just firing away, and I have to remake my spawning pool, remaking Spire, remaking a Queen's Nest so I can get back up to Hive Tech. And there are carriers that come from one side, there are battlecruisers coming from the other side, and I lost my Defiler mount. So it's going to be a while before I can make any Defilers. They didn't kill bottom right for a little while, which meant I guess I was able to mine some more gas, which was nice. But it was already mined out, so it wasn't a big deal. I'm going to get rid of production tab for a bit. We can bring it back later. But yeah, so here comes the disruption web. And being in the middle is tough, man, because you just don't have vision over this high ground. You know, you have to wait for battlecruisers to be on top of you before you can fire on them. They can fire on you before you can even see them. Same with carriers, you can only see the interceptors unless you get overlords close to the edge. But as soon as you get overlords close to the edge, they're Corsairs and they're Valkyries. You just start killing everything. So I am desperately able to bring that production tab back up. See, I'm below 200 minerals here. Desperately just trying to make enough spore colonies while also mining, you know, as I can. And here we have another hatchery coming in. Here's my Defiler mount. So I'm trying to get back to that Defiler tech because I need Dark Swarm to survive. And they are just going to keep dropping. Look at just every corner. This is why I had to have lurkers in the corners before I even tried to do this. They just come from every angle. And this is so annoying right here. They just fly right up over this area. Anytime you try that, I've tried burrowing lurkers up there, they just kill them. Anytime an overlord gets close, they just kill it. But I do have my Defiler mount back. Researching more Defiler energy. I don't know if I have any Defilers actually out yet. Let's see. No, none in the production queue. Just having to replace the Hydralisks that I've lost over time as the BCs and carriers have come in. So you can see, this is me. I still have the bottom right, but they're attacking it now. This is going to die very soon. I'm going to lose. There was a Spire down here. That was the only piece of tech, and I have replaced it up here. The Spire is important for the air carapace, flyer carapace upgrade for the overlords, because overlords just die so quickly. That's why I had the Spire as early as I did. You notice I didn't make any Mutalisks, which were kind of helpful. And I'm just taking a lot of damage here. Carrier just pokes in from the darkness. Its interceptors were coming out before I could even attack it. Valkyries poking their heads in. And where are my Defilers? Do I have any Defilers? Still just been spending all my money trying to keep enough Hydras and Spores to not die. Bottom right is now pretty much gone. So it's just the middle. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 hatcheries. We got a Spire, we got a Hydra Den, we got a Defiler mount. Had to remake the evolution chamber and the spawning pool. So all the tech is in the middle. Everything's in the middle. Everything I have to work with. And at this point, I was not feeling real good about this attempt. I figured I had the middle, so I should play it out, see what I can do. And finally, we have a couple of Defilers. So this is where I've been trying to get this whole time. And alright, Dark Swarm is finished with lurkers. It's not even a given that once you get Dark Swarm, I mean Dark Swarm you can basically, if you have Consume, you can defend against battlecruisers and carriers sort of indefinitely. But there are storm drops, there are zealot drops. They get in there. So you have to have the lurkers. It helps to have some zerglings as well. But I'm just going to be putting Dark Swarm basically on this one spot, and then sometimes down here for a while. You can see they're just getting free shots on all these drones. Every time I put up a spore colony, there used to be one right here, it gets Yamato'd, or they just kill the carriers, whatever. Another Dark Swarm coming up here because I got to deal with that. I'm losing drones. And let's take a look at the production tab. I do have a lot of minerals now, so that is the nice thing about having the middle. I'm up to 4,000 minerals and 1,500 gas, 42 drones, 100 supply. It's in Hydras, it's in a few defilers, and it's in Zerglings that are just there to be consumed. Defiler food. More and more carriers coming from every angle. More battle cruisers are going to show up, and now the idea is I got to get off this island. At 108 supply, still having to throw down these dark swarms and defend as more and more shit just appears over and over again. The Zergs haven't been heard from in a while. I think there are only a couple of them. One of them, I think, ended up being one of those that never expanded. I think the other one was more legitimate. But, okay, a couple more battle cruisers, and you can see they're just Yamatoing these spore colonies, and they'll just keep doing that over time. And Yamato being free is obviously a very good trade for them. They don't lose anything by doing it. They just have to wait and then come back and do it again. So shit just keeps coming, keeps coming, keeps coming. More Dark Swarm, and now I'm scouting around trying to figure out where I can expand. Here, this Overlord. I was actually trying to figure out, I think, if this Zerg had expanded to its bottom left-hand corner, but I kind of lost track of the Overlord because I was dealing with all this shit and these Dark Swarms, and the Overlord ends up just flying over all their spore colonies and dying. Because I would really like to take a base that actually has gas. This one right here was empty, which is nice, but it only has minerals. And the bottom left-hand corner would have gas. More battlecruisers showing up. More Dark Swarm going down. And we're getting close to mined out here. I do have about 6,000 minerals. Only 1,600 gas, though. That's why I really want to have an island with gas. I just spent a bunch of it on these defilers. Can't run out of defilers. See, Dark Swarm's gone, and immediately I'm going to start losing Hydralisks. I have to retreat them and then bring them back under the Dark Swarm. I am up to 140 supply now. Hydra counts are getting higher. Dark Swarm, Dark Swarm, Dark Swarm, Dark Swarm. Just don't die. Just don't die. But I have to get off the island. So at this point, I mean, you can see I have only even seen a very small part of the map. 40 minutes in. And this, this is going to be the island. This is the target. I got to get there somehow. I got to keep it. I need those minerals. As much gas as you need as Zerg. Minerals become the real problem because you have to spend so much on defense. You have to spend so much on spore colonies, on sunken colonies throughout the game. So, I want to have an island with gas, but I'll take anything I can get. Minerals are minerals. Minerals are good. And so now I'm loading up. I don't think every single one of these Overlords is full. No, they're not. But we're bringing Hydras, and we're bringing Defilers. And I don't think I even put any drones in here. Gotta bring Zerglings along to consume. Okay, I do pick up some drones at the end. But a lot of times the best thing to do is just go without the drones. More Dark Swarm. We are almost entirely mined out in the middle. A lot of drones just idle here. Still haven't moved out. I'm gonna up the speed once more. And our Overlords almost lose some to cannons there. Is that base? I didn't know about that base. I'll log my way. There is a double gas island here, but without any minerals, I mean, I really need to prioritize the mineral. It's also, double gas island is long and thin and hard to keep. So this was, I was not sure this was going to work because that's not that many Hydras. I actually threw down Dark Swarms before anyone started attacking. I've got Lurkers in each of these corners, a few Hydras in each of these corners. And you can see Dark Swarm fades away, nobody even attacked. And I'm consuming Zerglings. I'm going to throw down more Dark Swarms again, I think preemptively. Meanwhile, in the middle, the attacks don't stop. But I managed to get this this hatchery done. And finish this Nidus Canal. And you can see now they're coming. I only brought one Defiler here because I couldn't lose all the tech in the middle. I couldn't afford to bring all the Defilers over. I also did not want to lose any Overlords. Now I can move in the Nidus Canal, but at least until they sent a lot more units, it felt like I was alright with Zerglings to consume and just one Defiler there. So we are fortunately far away from the Terran at this point, so the Terran I think are still going to keep focusing on the middle. But we got Protoss here, Zerg here, and oh, I guess there is a Terran bottom middle. We haven't seen him yet. Carriers are easier to deal with than battlecruisers because spore colonies are pretty good at taking out interceptors. But you can see I gotta spend all this money on spore colonies. Look at these Valkyries coming in. If I don't have the spore colonies, the Valkyries just come in and kill all the overlords. Right, more Yamato gun, more Dark Swarm, killing battlecruisers. Not mining here, but still having to put down Dark Swarm so I don't lose all my tech. Carriers coming back in. At this point, I got a ton of drones mining on what this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mineral patches. It's not the best place to expand, but it's the one that was available to me. What do I have down here? I guess I sent an Overlord down here? Yeah, I got an Overlord down there. So Zerg, I was right, Zerg did not take that bottom left expansion, but the Terran did. So that's not going to be a free base for me. And now, Zerg obviously being very weak, having never expanded, I decide that I want to clear this area out. It buys me some real estate. I'm going to throw down a Nidus Canal so that I can send reinforcements here quickly because stuff popping out here is very clumped, very difficult to manage. But they don't stop attacking, so we're still getting battlecruisers, we're still getting carriers coming in, and the Garmbrood is the first eliminated. Garmbrood is terrible, man. And I send my Hydras over here. I think that's a Nidus from the middle. Yeah. And now we're going to load them up and try to take bottom left, because bottom left, well, they had landed here. It actually hadn't been mined out that much. You can see, close to 1,000 minerals, even more on some of these mineral patches. So that's going to be my new source of minerals and gas. We got almost 4,000 gas here. And still just trying to hold on to the middle so that I don't have to rebuild all my tech again. More battlecruisers just coming and coming. You can see I used to have so many spore colonies here. Now I have one. That becomes an issue when Valkyries show up, when Wraiths with Cloak show up. I've lost a bunch of spore colonies over here. This base is looking a lot more sparse than it used to. And I'm just focused on holding this. So we're making more lurkers, burrowing at the corners and in the middle, and I brought a Defiler so I can keep doing the same Dark Swarm thing if they try to move in on this base. Well, I mean, shit's going down, right? Another 2 more spore colonies lost. I think I lost my Nidus Canal. Yep, I had to remake my Nidus Canal. They target that as if it's a unit, which is actually one of the smarter things that the AI does. And we are an hour into the game. I have under 100 minerals, close to 3,000 gas though, and I'm only mining on 2 bases, completely mined out in the middle. I've lost my main. I'm still not feeling real great here. You can see, obviously orange computer is dead, green computer is Terran. I took out, I think, their last mining base in the bottom left-hand corner, when they kind of were choked out by the Protoss, the purple, which is extremely powerful. They've got, they're up over 3,000 minerals, 1,500 gas, they got a ton of bases. I'm sort of split my way between their bases. But, I mean, the green is still sending battlecruisers. I think every time they get up to 400 minerals, they're just making a new one. I start making hatcheries here, because I do have a decent amount of income now on 2 bases. Though this one's going to be mined out soon, and I need to be able to produce things somewhere. I had a bunch of hatcheries back in the middle, so maybe I didn't need to make these. But I wanted to hold this area rather than get this part split away from this part. So if I needed to, I'd be able to pop up a bunch of Hydralisks. And now I'm scouting around with the Scourge. Pretty expensive scouts, but I'm just looking for islands that still have minerals. I'm not expecting to find any empty islands at this point. And more Disruption Web. You can't stop paying attention to this, because they just keep coming. Bring more and more shit. Alright, at this point, a long time ago, Hydras were at 3-3. I've got a Greater Spire, but I haven't made any real air units except the Scourge. And I've decided that, let's see, where was it? This is going to be my target for my next base. Though this one, this one's harder to take. So the Protoss is really scary. And the reason, as we know, I'm going to speed it up again, is Storm. So Storm will just kill everything, and when you do not have an infinite supply of money, that's a real problem. So this base, you know, there are a bunch of cannons, but the defense on it was not actually that strong, and they weren't mining almost at all. I did get stormed. Look, they're storming me from my original base across the island, or across the gap. And I lost a bunch of hydraulics that way, but I dropped everything first before bringing over the drones to make the hatchery. What speed are we at? This looks very fast. I might have put it at 16x. Maybe it's just 8. Okay, but I basically moved most of my stuff away from here because it's mined out. Everything's on here, and you know, as soon as I can get a nice canal up, I'm transferring drones. And I've got this whole network of Nidus canals, so I'm having to like send them, you know, from the middle to here, and then you know, from there to here, and then from here back to the middle, and then over from the middle over to here. And honestly, it was very difficult to keep track. I found that there are still minerals at this island, so that was the next stop. And the idea of attacking one of the other computers, like trying to kill them, just didn't even cross my mind at this point. It's all just about finding minerals. An hour and 20 minutes in, only one computer has been killed. And they have this Dark Archon hanging out on my island. It's going to be there for a while. Okay, so let's see, continue. I was able to mine out this base. It did have 2 mostly full geysers, which was nice. And they are not stopping their attacks in the middle. Alright, wait, I think I gotta slow it down. It's just too buggy. Alright. And, alright, now we need to find another island. This island was nice. There's a lot of open space on it, and they hadn't mined much of it, so it allowed me to just drop. And hydras against cannons are quite good, so that wasn't too hard. But the whole time I'm just holding my breath, hoping there aren't High Templar when I do these drops, because they'll just take out. I mean, they'll just storm over and over and over again, and they'll be the enemy. But now this island feels reasonably secure, and I'm feeling a lot better about my mineral income, making 3 hatcheries here. That way I can very quickly just pop out more hydralisks if I need to defend once they finish. And if this ends up getting killed before one of the hatcheries finishes, I can cancel all 3. So now we're mining at 1, still only, I guess, mining, we got 2 bases and taking a 3rd. Starting to get some momentum here. Not seeing as many battle cruisers make their way in. You can see a lot of the computers are lower on minerals and gas. And green, I said, was out of it, but they really aren't, actually. They just, they're doing a really good job spending their minerals. Okay, so this base is mining. This base is up and running now. Basically moving my entire army to each new island as I take it, because it tends to draw their attention. I just need them, and I'm going to have to put up a ton of spore colonies at each of these islands, which is just so expensive. Drone plus creep colony plus morphing to spore colony, 175 minerals for each one of those things. And you cannot move them to the next island. They're dropping off Dark Templar, making more hatcheries over here. You can see my mineral count's up 6,000, gas is up at 6,000, so I do have the capacity to make a lot of units. And again, I'm trying to take another. I did take some storm hits. This one, you can see I lost a lot of hydras, but I had enough. And before even bringing a drone over here, you can check the mineral count, make sure it was even worth it. There's about 900 minerals here, so it's worth the 300 to throw down a hatchery. Almost mined out on this island, but taking more and more of the map. Hydra's doing the dirty work with these drops. And then, what are we doing back here? Nothing. So I'm at 174 supply. It's really, another thing that makes island maps really hard for Zerg is it's just not easy to move around with ground units. Like, Hydralisks were clearly the best option versus air for most of this game. And, like, it's just so dangerous to put anything inside an Overlord, because they kill Overlords so quickly. What are we doing? Patrolling? Oh no. Move in. Oh, dropping hydras over here. And try and take out this base down here, even though there's nothing to mine. Just to just keep them out of the way, right? If they have bases in an area, they're more likely to come and defend or attack or whatever. Alright, I'm going to speed it up again. We're an hour and 36 minutes into the game. Got 8,000 minerals, 7,000 gas. I am maxed out. And what are we? We have... Well, they weren't even flapping their wings. We have Mutalisk. Now we have made the switch to air. And we got 3/3 upgrades with Guardians and Devourers. So the reason for the switch to Guardians is what I was just talking about. It's just too hard to move an army of Vigos around. You can lose a lot of them in transit. The Guardians, they're stupid. They get too close to things when they have longer range. So you have to pay attention to them, but it's a lot easier to manage than Hydras and Overlords, loading and unloading over and over again. So Terran, I am going to be able to take out. I did lose a bunch of Guardians, though. And I think I made another group of them. Yep, here they come. To the rescue. What was that? Is that... Oh, that's my Devourers. So I got like 1.5 groups of Guardians, 1 team of Devourers. You gotta stay on top of these things. It's tough to keep the Devourers near the Guardians. You basically have to actively manage it. Make sure nothing else dies. There is not an infinite supply of money here, so I can't just let all this shit get stormed. I have to be very careful anytime I approach anything belonging to Protoss. And now it's just combing the map. I'm down to 5,000 minerals, 8,000 gas. I think I did find, let's see, I found a couple mineral patches here. So, Fenris Brood was eliminated. Yeah, so they never ended up expanding either. Protoss just took their space. There were only 2 Zerg in this one. It's not like, I think in my Protoss version I was lucky there were maybe 3 Zergs. And that was fortunate for me. Alright, so now we're just combing across the map, but still having to be very careful. I have 5,000, 6,000 minerals, 9,000 gas. Not mining anywhere though. But I did find this mineral patch was almost completely full, and it had a little friend here. But I think they do attack here later, which was annoying. Okay, moving to top right, just sweeping across them. I still haven't seen, what, about 40% of the map here, like ever. I think there's a Terran in the top left, there's a Protoss here, and the purple Protoss, the big monster. It was in the middle left. Sweeping across the map. You can see here I had Devourers following the Guardians, right? And then this Wraith just comes up and starts attacking me. But the Guardians, or the Devourers, were just on a move command following the Guardians. So they never attacked the Wraith. I had to notice it and go get them. Now I'm down to 3,700 minerals and 9,000 gas because I made more Mutalisks as my Guardian count has gone down a bit. Just killing Protoss. We are now at the 2-hour and 3-minute mark. Oh, at this point, I made some queens and started parasiting things. This is how paranoid I was about High Templar. So now I'm down to 3,700 minerals. I have a lot of gas, but if my entire army gets wiped out by storm, this game may end in stalemate. There are no minerals available on the map. In past games, in the Terran version and the Protoss version, as I was going, I was finding entire bases that had never been occupied that I could mine. In this case, I found a couple that were, they had a few mineral patches, and I took them. But here we are getting too close to Goliaths. And yeah, I'm basically out of Guardians there. I did, though, turn those 2 groups of Mutalisks into Guardians down here. And going to start making the push from the south. I had to bring Devourers around to help. And yeah, so I made the queens, as I mentioned. I parasited some stuff, just trying to keep an eye on things. I know there are Templar down here in my original main base, so I'm going to save that for last. And hopefully I'll be able to broodling some things with queens. I think I actually lost the queens that I made, though. I made 3 queens, got some parasites off. That's why I can see down here. But all 3 of them ended up dying. I'm going to make some more later. Alright, still sweeping across the map. We've now seen almost everything. Terran's the only real base that remains. I already attacked it once, but they actually held me off. This island was never taken, Double Gas Island. This mineral patch, let's see. Yeah, 1,800 minerals, just 1 mineral patch that was barely mined. And I do go and take it. Because I need everything to get. I'm down to 1,600 minerals now. So if I were to just stumble upon an island that was covered in Templar and lose this entire army, I may not be able to recover. Still marching on. Marsara was eliminated. Let's follow these Guardians. Where are you going? Okay, we are now moving down to the bottom right. And I've been down here. Here are my queens. I made 6 new queens. And I'm putting broodlings on all the Templar I could find. Parasiting everyone else, just in case there are other Templar I didn't know about. Hoping they'll show me. And so my original main base, taking it out, is the end of the Shellac tribe. We are down to just this Terran outpost, or so I thought. Omega Squadron is eliminated, and there's still somebody who remains. I'm fanning out Queens and Mutalisks and Overlords trying to find them, and we have located the last Hara tribe in 2 hours and 26 minutes. Primeval Isles as Zerg solved. So the key things, just to recap, it was the decision or the realization that the ring of spore colonies was not really the best way to go, and having everything land and die to sunken colonies was better. It was, of course, having to get those sunken colonies up before the first drop, while also getting drop tech fast enough to get a second base, because without a second base, you can't take the middle. I tried many times. There are a lot of different iterations of what I tried and what I thought might work. I mentioned I did different openings, build orders. I did the spores around the side. I tried just doing a tiny base and going straight to lurkers and putting lurkers everywhere and a few spores, and that would work for a little while, but ended up being too expensive. And really the big thing was, in terms of getting the middle, look at all these Nidus canals. Getting in the middle was the burrow idea. So burrowing on islands. I mean, there were several games where I just flew an overlord around and dropped, filled it with 8 drones and just dropped drones on each island and burrowed them. And then I would opportunistically maybe try to expand in 3 different places at the same time, just unburrow them, make a hatchery. So make one up here, make one down here, make one up here at the same time, so that they maybe one of them would finish before the entire swarm arrived. That never really worked, but the burrow idea ended up being the key, because I could have drones here already. I could leave lurkers here without them being attacked, and I could even bring over an entire army of Hydralisks, and if I burrowed it immediately, basically the AI would not show up until I wanted them to show up, until I was ready for them. And even then, it was no given that I'd survive losing my main at the beginning. I mean, I really thought this was going to be a failed attempt. That was in game time. That was 2 hours ago that happened. So I finished the game with 20 drones, 154 supply, a bunch of Guardians, a few Devourers, and a lot of Hydras lost. Let's take a look at the stats, which should be pretty ridiculous. Alright, so over 2 hours and 26 minutes, APM of 45. There was a decent amount of just standing around and dark swarming over and over again. In terms of units, produced 854. I killed 2,339, and I lost 476. That means I had 400 units at the end. Right? Alright. That doesn't make sense. And what else do we have to look at? I made exactly 200 buildings, raised 560 buildings, lost 105. And resources, did not mine the most gas. That was the Sargus tribe, one of the Protoss. And then did mine the most minerals, just barely, over the Sargus tribe. I was saying purple was the most powerful one, but I guess Sargus was out in front. And I did spend the most between minerals and gas. And there you go. We had 3 Protoss, 2 Terran, and 2 Zerg. Yeah, I mean, that's not really... I mean, it's nice that there were only 2 Terran, but I don't feel like that was a super favorable mix. You know, you want more Zerg. Certainly 3 Zerg is better, but it worked out. I was able to survive long enough to start attacking, and Honestly, I didn't really get very close. Once I figured out the thing about burrowing and taking the middle, that's when I started to feel like I could actually do this thing. But this was by far the best that it went, and it involved losing my main 25 minutes in. So this was a tough one. I don't know why I went back and tried it after determining that it was impossible, but I guess I'm just masochist. I hope you enjoyed. The end. Primeval Isles as Zerg solved.